Hello and welcome to the program today on Afghanistan's Veterans Medals. Hello and welcome to Veterans Medals Workshop hosted by Medals of America, which supplies the medals and the badges and the displays, and of course Medals of America Press, which supplies the information. I'm Frank Foster, your host, and I'm glad you can join us today because we want to talk about Afghanistan Veterans Medals. And you're going to say, oh, why do you want to talk about Afghanistan? It's still going on. Well, yes, but it's been going on for almost 20 years. It started back in 2001. And one of the things we want to talk about is make sure that today's veteran doesn't end up like Joe here, still waiting on his medals from World War II. So what I'd like to do now is give you some examples of the awards that a member of the Army, the Air Force, the Marine Corps, the Navy would have received for service in Afghanistan. And I think they will represent most of the troops, sailors, airmen, and Marines who've served there. So come on, let's take a look. It's been almost 20 years since the first armed forces of the United States went into Afghanistan to settle some scores. And we did that. And we're still doing it. But it's also time for veterans from 2001 to 2005 to 2008, 2010, reach in their duffel bag or their closet, pull out their old uniform, take a look at their ribbon rack, start putting their awards together. They don't want to be like my friend Joe over there from World War II, still waiting for his medals after 75 years. And not only were there 500,000 soldiers in Afghanistan to date, but there are hundreds of thousands of sailors, Marines, and airmen that had served there, and many of them from the National Guard and the Reserve Forces. Well, surprise, surprise, the first medal awarded for service in Afghanistan starting in 2001 was not the Afghanistan Campaign Medal, but it was the Global War on Terrorism Expeditionary Medal. The medal itself is a circular bronze disc which displays a shield adapted from the Great Seal of the United States, surmounting two sword hilts enclosed within a wreath of laurel. Overall, an eagle, wings displayed, grasping a serpent in its claws. The reverse of the medal displays the eagle, a serpent, and swords from the front of the medal within the encircling description, War on Terrorism Expeditionary. The ribbon is scarlet, white, and blue representing the United States, light blue referring to worldwide cooperation against terrorism, gold denoting excellence. However, effective in 2005, the Global War on Terror Expeditionary Medal was no longer authorized in Afghanistan. It was replaced by the Afghanistan Campaign Medal. However, if you want, you can make applications to exchange your Global War on Terror Expeditionary Medal for the Afghanistan Campaign Medal. Unless, of course, you've had multiple tours in Afghanistan, then you can keep both. For those who like attention to detail, the medal has been redesigned and is slightly smaller in diameter, and the word medal has been removed from the reverse. However, the original medal are still official and somewhat of a collector's item. The Afghanistan Campaign Medal that we know today was instituted in 2004, but only one award of the Campaign Medal may be authorized to each individual. A Bronze Service Star is worn on the suspension and campaign ribbon for one or more days of participation in each one of the designated campaign phases, and I'll show you those in a moment. On the front of the medal above a range of mountains is a map of Afghanistan in the center with the inscription Afghanistan Campaign around the top. On the reverse, on the top is a radiating demi-sun superimposed by an eagle's head. Inscribed across the bottom half of the reverse side of the three lines for service in Afghanistan, all enclosed by a laurel wreath symbolizing victory. I also need to point out that in addition to the bronze and silver campaign stars and the eagle globe and anchor worn by certain Navy personnel who serve with the Marines, the Army now authorizes an arrowhead for assaults. Now, by the way, this picture shows you why the Institute of Heraldry put the mountains of Afghanistan on the front of the medal. Since 2001, there have been 6 campaigns in Afghanistan. And if you served 1 day during any of those campaign periods, you're authorized a Bronze Star to go on your ribbon or medal. And every medal would have at least 1 campaign star. For personnel serving in Afghanistan, in addition to the Afghanistan Service Medal, all would receive a Global War on Terrorism Service Medal. It's for service of 30 days in support of a global war on terrorism operations. The Global War on Terrorism Medal is a circular bronze disc which displays an eagle with the wings outspread with a stylized shield of 13 vertical bars on its breast, holding in the right claw an olive branch offering peace, and in the left claw 3 arrows, all on front of a globe with the inscription War on Terrorism Service. The reverse of the medal displays a laurel wreath on a plain field. The ribbon is scarlet, white, and blue, representing the United States, with gold denoting excellence. I'd like to point out that there has been a change to the Global War on Terrorism Service Medal. The original medal, as shown on your right, said War on Terrorism Service Medal and was slightly larger than the current medal, which just says War on Terrorism Service. The original medal is still official and is somewhat of a collector's item. At the end of July in 2006, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization authorized the award of a non-Article 5 NATO medal for serving in Afghanistan in support of NATO operations. Basically what that means is a non-Article 5 operations are those that are conducted as a peace support or crisis operation authorized by the North Atlantic Council. Now the medal comes with a bar on it. The United States forces are not authorized to wear the bar, so the NATO non-Article 5 medal received by American personnel is the one shown on the right. So currently, at least going back to 2006, all Afghanistan veterans would have at least the National Defense Service Medal, awarded when they came onto active duty, the Afghanistan Campaign Medal with at least 1 campaign star, the War on Terrorism Service Medal, and the NATO non-Article 5 medal. During Afghanistan operations, the armed forces have placed a heavy reliance on National Guard and Reserve forces. And so, example, this National Guard outfit would also receive the Armed Forces Reserve Medal, with an M device to indicate mobilization. For example, an enlisted soldier could perhaps receive the Good Conduct Medal, the National Defense Medal, the Afghanistan Campaign Medal, the War on Terror Service Medal, and the Armed Forces Reserve Medal with M device. But you have to pay attention because there's a different Armed Forces Reserve Medal for Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force, Coast Guard, and National Guard, as shown by the examples on the right. So since 2006, a National Guard or Reserve personnel could have received the National Defense Service Medal, the Afghanistan Campaign Medal, the War on Terrorism Service Medal, the Armed Forces Reserve Medal, and the NATO Medal. While those are the basic awards, we know that every veteran service is different and each veteran would have a different series of awards. On the left, for example, are the ribbons of an Army non-commissioned officer, and on the right are the ribbons of a senior Marine non-commissioned officer. And they show both personal decorations, service medals, ribbon-only awards, and foreign awards. However, there's a real difference when you take a look at the actual medals. For example, on the left are a series of personal decorations and service awards of an Army non-commissioned officer, and on the right, the personal decorations and service awards of a Chief Petty Officer. So in summary, the 3 basic medals for service in Afghanistan are the Afghanistan Campaign Medal with at least 1 battle star or 1 campaign star on it, the War on Terrorism Service Medal, and the NATO non-Article 5 award. Okay, I've walked you through the basic load of medals for all the Afghanistan veterans. Now let's take a look at how some actual Afghanistan veterans have displayed their awards. We have a 20-year Army veteran who enlisted and then rose to the rank of major. He has his personal awards, his service medals, service in Iraq, Afghanistan, and NATO, as well as overseas service in Korea. a handsome display of Afghanistan and Iraqi service. Here's a really handsome display of a Navy Petty Officer Corpsman who served with the Marines in Afghanistan. I like the way he's used the picture, badges, put his ribbons over his medals, and put identifying tags under each one of the medals. That's truly a very nice veterans display. Of course, there's a lot going on in Afghanistan, and that's one of the reasons you need corpsmen, and it's not unusual for a Marine like this to pick up a Purple Heart. Well, I'm sure he didn't pick it up. I'm sure, as one of my sergeants once said, being shot at and missed is no big deal. Being shot at and hit really sucks. But this is a great classic Marine display. As one airman said, there's nobody going to Afghanistan unless the Air Force takes them there. And he has put together a great case of his ribbons over his medals, his dog tags. What a case to remember his service in Afghanistan. Here's a unique display case of a veteran's service, which is not as special as you might think, because a lot of veterans have served in both the Army and the Navy, or in this case, in the Army and the Marine Corps, the 1st Infantry Division and the 1st Marine Division. But you can tell because his Marine Good Conduct Medal comes first, that that is a service that he served in Afghanistan. Looks like he served in Kosovo with the Army. The guy got around a lot. As I mentioned earlier, the operations in Afghanistan could not be conducted without the full support of the Reserve and National Guard forces. And this captain wanted to make sure that you remember that he was a Red Leg artilleryman by adding a novelty badge over his awards and decorations. And you notice that he has an M on his Armed Forces Reserve Medal to indicate he was mobilized. I like the way this Marine Corporal uses patches from his different units in Afghanistan and his 2nd Marine Division patch. The only thing that surprises me is he left off a campaign star on his Afghanistan medal. You don't see a Marine make a mistake like that very often. Corporal, you still did a good job on your display. Here is a beautiful museum-quality display of an Air Force Command pilot senior officer that shows his decorations, his service medals, indicating service in Desert Storm and in Afghanistan and in Nato, and his foreign awards at the very end. I don't think you could look for a nicer case than what this colonel has done. And let's face it, the Air Force has a lot of style, and they know how to look good. What is unique about this Marine Corps Master Gunnery Sergeant's display case is if you look at his Armed Forces Reserve Medal, and you can see that it has a silver hourglass and that he has been mobilized 3 times. That's a lot of devotion to the Marine Corps Reserve. Hats off to him. This is a classic display of a Navy Petty Officer, and he puts his unit awards, the ribbon-only awards, over his medals, and he uses nice identification tabs under each one of the medals. And he's seen service in both Afghanistan and in Iraq. If one airman said you can't get to Afghanistan without the Air Force taking you there, this staff sergeant says you can't get home unless the Air Force brings you home. And this is an impressive display of 20 years service in the Air Force to include service in Afghanistan and mobilization. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed the show as much as we enjoyed putting it together. If you did, give us a like, or even better, subscribe. And always encourage the Veterans of America to pull their awards out of that duffel bag or storage area and put them up on the wall so we can pay them the honor that they deserve. All of the information in this video came from the book Military Medals of America, and the following books, which cover both the United States Army, the United States Marine Corps, and the United States Air Force. All of the books are available at Medals of America Press or on Amazon. You'll be very happy if you get one, and I'll be even happier.